To be honest, it's a panic situation, right?
Sure.
And I'm getting a lot of calls from a client. It's not for selling their property, but tell me what's on ground situation right now.
Yep.
Situation is really overwhelming. People want to wait right now. Smart investor doing right now, they are silently buying good stock.
Sure.
What do you mean by good stock? I would say land. Because after all this, price is gonna for sure go up.
For sure.
It's like proven already.
I think this is the second podcast for 3x Capital. I think we did one almost a year ago, but I'm very happy that I'm doing this with two fine gentlemen that I know, that two very senior consultants. They're dear colleagues and friends of mine. I think a lot has been going on since the last, let's say, 1 month. I know there's a lot of, let's say, things which, have kind of changed the perspective of Dubai. And this podcast is genuinely going to give you insights into real conversations that all of us have had with our investors, how we look at the market, how we are resonating with, let's say, different entities in terms of, okay, let's say developers, investors, end users, buyers, sellers, what is genuinely happening in the market. And it's going to be a very intense, in depth podcast. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tanveer Khan and Mr. Mohammad Saiyed.
Yes.
So, I think, see, before we start this, just give a quick introduction about yourself for our viewers and let me genuinely know your perspectives on the market. Mr. Tanveer.
So, hi, yes, thank you for the introduction. So, I have been in this market from last 5 years, okay, and have a 6 years experience in India, and I've worked with the global companies like GLL, CBRE. So, according to Dubai, okay, in my perspective right now, see, it's, to be honest, it's a panic situation, right?
Sure.
And I'm getting a lot of calls from a client. It's not for selling their property, but tell me what's on ground situation right now.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll be very honest. Okay. So there are panic situation right now. People are doing panic selling, but don't worry, you are in a safe position because you bought a resilient product, okay, according to the fundamentals. Actually, I'm not seeing distressed deals, okay, on below OP or on the OP on what products I have sold. For example, we can say the Heights by Emaar or Beyond in Maritime City as well.
Sure.
Okay. And then there are several projects where I myself I call it as an I'm an analyzer. Okay. So I analyze the whole market, I analyze the PSF as well. Then I identify a product which is trading below the market at the peak price. I don't want to name the project right now.
Sure.
Okay. Where the whole market, okay, the big players were trading at 2,800. Okay. With, we can say, not a good view or a great view, but
Sure.
my product having a full open view, and this was trading at 2,000 and 2,100 right now. Right now. Okay. So I told my people while I was selling 1 year ago that if anything happens to the market, okay, you should be on a lower level, on a safer side. Well, these people who bought it at 2,800 dirham per square foot, these people will panic.
Yep.
Start selling at 2,400 below OP or something.
Sure.
But when you are entering at 2,100, you are very safe. Why you want to sell? Because you have already bought undervalue.
Sure.
Okay.
I think this is a good point where, I mean, obviously we're not allowed to maybe, declare the names, but a lot of people will understand because, and I know both of these projects because I've been, in transactions with both of these. I think one was based heavily on the brand more than maybe anything in terms of, let's say, views. Not that they don't have views, but, and I think this is where product fundamentals when you're buying off plan, because you can go right on a discount or a price per square feet. But if you go wrong on the product itself, that's where you see a lot of distressed deals. So we'll come to that. I think this was an excellent, let's say, observation. And obviously over to you, Mr. Mohammad Shahid.
So I'm Shahid, and I've been in Dubai market around more than 4.5 years. If you talk about my experience in India, it's about 7 years in sales, particularly. So I understand the sentiments of the buyers and how to give the confidence to the buyers. My angle like to see all this situation is completely different.
Okay.
I'm not like looking into the per square feet price or not like that, but it is a very valid point you guys made here. But my angle is that what's government doing to protect you?
Sure.
If I talk about my homeland like India, in every 5 years government change. For an instance, I've been being overwhelmed by like seeing this video where His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed went to the hospital
Yep.
to meet the people over there, like
Sure.
who like face this crisis or the missile attacks
Sure.
or like something. So what he said, "I'm here to support you." This guy doesn't need any vote. In India, maybe like the leader comes to you and okay, fine. There's the agenda behind that to give them the vote or to elect that in the next election. But here, agenda is completely different. So government, like, see, I just want to highlight one thing here. If you heard that news, Sheikh His Highness Faza Muhammad
Yeah.
Sheikh Hamdan
So
bin Mohammed,
businesses,
yeah.
right?
So he pumped 1 billion dirham to support the UAE economy.
Sure.
Give me one city on the planet and name one government to me who did this in war crisis or geopolitical crisis previously.
Oh, that's true. It's absolutely
So
true.
this type of government here to protect you. It is
Sure.
not about investment. This thing, it's like happening all around the world. Name any country, name any, let's say, big countries. I'm talking about US. They have debts of 1 trillion. That's why they are doing it.
I think 1.78. The reports that
Exactly,
I was,
yes.
looking
And
at.
if they don't like able to protect their like pegged economy or let's say petrodollar currency, they're gonna like ruin themselves.
Sure.
So China is behind something. They have like motive to get into this war.
Sure.
Russia has the motive. If I talk about India-Pakistan conflict, it's like everywhere on the planet right now. But Middle East,
Sure.
they don't have agenda.
Absolutely. And see, Shahid, as Tanveer also mentioned, it's been almost 4 weeks into this.
Yeah.
What has been your conversations with? Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's understand both of your conversations with your existing investors, the ones that have purchased from you guys, and any conversations with. It does not have to be a new investor, right? Sometimes it's just a new person, potential client, or whatever it is, trying to understand the reality of the market. So let's say starting from you, any feedback on these genuine conversations that you had
With the clients.
with the clients?
Situation is really overwhelmed. People want to wait right now,
Sure.
investors. But what smart investor doing right now? They are silently buying good stock.
Sure.
What do you mean by good stock? I would say land
Yep.
or any seafront property, which is very limited and rare.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the trophy assets,
Yep.
but I'm talking about something which makes sense to the upcoming demand.
Sure.
So there's a demand and supply in everywhere.
Sure.
So I don't like, as I mentioned, that smart investors are buying silently.
Sure.
They don't show off. They don't like that. Okay, I'm going this, I'm going that. But if I talk about the major audience right now, yes, they are still watching the market right
You're still
now.
watching the
Yeah.
market. Amazing. What about you, Tanveer?
Because I'm getting calls right now and my investors are sending me the distressed deals from the other agents. Bro, can you analyze this? What is
Sure.
this? People are selling me like minus OP or something. First of all, I told them, okay, while entering into a unit, okay, you need to understand what is the PSF, okay, the supply in that building,
Yep.
and then the view.
Sure.
Okay, whatever the people are buying have just buy it blindly through a broker, okay,
Correct.
who are now stuck with that unit.
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so these people are scared right now that okay, Tanveer, how's this? I'm getting this 2.6 million deal at 2.3 million.
Yep.
It's a good deal. We should buy right now. I said, this is not the value. 2.3 is also overpriced. Have you
Yep.
look at the view? Have you look at the supply? So when it comes to handover, how will you resell that unit or how will you rent out?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I told them, let's wait. Okay, I'll give you good options. But while I'm seeing the distress deals, me, Zohaib, you, we have seen like 500 listings, right?
Yep.
And everything is on the OP.
Sure.
Or OP plus DLD. The lesser units are which are on the road
Yep.
or it is in the distress
yeah.
place.
Yes.
It's distress
Sure.
place actually.
Sure.
We can say.
Yeah.
See, I think, okay, so I'll give you my insight to this word distress, right? And a lot of times people feel that what is distress, let's say.
Right.
So I'll give you two examples which then will open up the conversation. See, one is from the developer and one is, let's say, from the secondary market, which they both have covered, right? So let's say a lot of products which are highly repetitive in nature, where the supply is definitely much more than the concentrated, let's say, demand. And a lot of times I have seen from the secondary market a minus 10, 15, 20, 25% OP deal, typically on unit typologies like studios, 1 bidders, 1.5 bidders, and with developers where it was maybe a 30/70, 35/65, whatever kind of flexible payment plan. Every single person buying into this was not maybe cash rich acquainted. They thought that I'll buy at 20%, at 30%. Whenever I need to liquidate, I can liquidate.
Right.
Clearly, we know this is not the market. And a very interesting thing, see, this war is, or let's say this conflict has happened for 1 month.
Right.
But what most people don't understand is before this, and both of them might agree, before this, the last, I would say, from H2 2025, the last 6 months of 2025, even if the same product, okay, was also going to sell at below OP, there were not immediate buyers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with, okay, maybe the conflict came, I'll maybe sell at minus. And again, it comes down to the fundamental of, first of all, what are you buying? Second of all, regardless of what are you buying, can you ride the wave of real estate? Because I think the problem is COVID to an extent spoiled the audience because people made so much money on
Exactly,
leverages,
yes.
so much money, like
Agree.
insane money. These, let's say, reputations with matured real estate areas in the world were not seen purely, obviously, because a lot of people they picked up off plan. Yes, now looking back, the price per square feet was incredibly, let's say, less. A lot of people were moving to Dubai after COVID, and in that quick span of 2.5 years, even if the product did not double in value, if I'm picking it up at 30/70, I've paid 20%, the product goes up by 25%, I'm making more than double, and people made a lot of money. The problem is since 2024, this has, I would say, not completely, but 95% stopped. And I think now though it has completely stopped. People cannot make, leverage very quickly.
Agree.
So from the secondary market, what they both said is very interesting, and I agree to this. The products which nobody wants to buy, even if they're selling at minus maybe 40%, it's a huge challenge. So a lot of times you have to analyze these products from a rental perspective. Worst case scenario, if
Yeah.
I'm buying studios, 1 bedrooms at minus 40%, how will my rental affect it? So if you're looking at these kind of deals, right? The products, specifically when you get into townhouses and villas where the ticket size has increased a lot in the last 2 years, you might see a couple of -5 or OP. So when we say OP, technically maybe the client is losing again -4 because the DLD is not
Yeah.
factored in. But let's say OP -5, OP -4, you will see them not in big frequency. And a major chunk which I'm dealing with is villas, semi-detached standalones, where people they want to sell worst case OP +5, OP +6, or they still want to sell at, maybe if the premium was going at 13-14%, they want to maybe sell it at 7-8%. They still want to sell at a premium. It's just that the premium has reduced in some communities. In some communities, you will still see these OP deals. But see, again, you must understand, OP still, if somebody is selling OP 6 months, 7 months before, it's still a good sign. It's not a crash. People think that the market has crashed, the market has gone, right? So this was, let's say, one perspective. Now for both of you, we'll start with secondary, then we'll come to developers, right? What is your take on this? How do you see secondary moving?
I would like to add on one thing here. Why you are seeing distress deal? You have to understand that first. What type of people who ready to sell their property or say unit or anything below the market price or below the buying price?
Yep.
Why? You have to understand that. Either that person hasn't planned the liquidity or the goal of buying, it's not clear. So in order to make profit in real estate, you have to strategize your investment. As you mentioned, that real estate, it's not a 6 months or 7 months game. It's not COVID.
Correct.
This situation for sure going to be over. I'm not sure when, but yeah, it's for sure going to be over. It's not COVID where like you have to wait for the like medicine, or like say for the cure. Like whenever the Trump and any big leader, it's like creating the pressure on him to
Sure.
like over this.
Sure.
If you like follow the market and the news. So my point is that why people are here to sell the unit, why they are like ready to sell the unit below
Yep.
the price. So first thing is that they are not the strategic buyers.
Sure.
If you have that kind of cash flow with you and you are able to get your hands on
Yep.
these type of units where you are sure you are going to make profit in
Yep.
a community, or let's say in a stock which makes sense to the audience. I'm not talking about any project, I would not name any developer or any location.
Sure.
But it's going to make sense to the person who going to absorb your unit.
Yep.
That you have to understand the psychology of the end user.
Sure.
If you plan your buying things according to that, for sure you're not gonna be like sell your unit in distress.
Sure.
So this is one
I
point.
think so. Just one point to add to you, and then maybe we'll move on. A lot of calls that I received were from buyers and so again, from a nationality perspective, these were majorly Europeans,
Right.
maybe, let's say ethnically Christian, Jews, let's say the white people. They told me that, hey, you know what? It's not that we don't have the payments. I mean, we can pay for the unit.
Right.
Right now, again, there's one psychological perspective where everybody sometimes, looks at markets where, okay, 2008, it was the crash. It was a financial risk. Everywhere, let's say, obviously, the housing crisis happened in US, it was a financial risk. 2020 COVID, it was a health risk. It was the pandemic. Everybody,
Yes.
was
Yes.
during these days. Now the problem is because of this regional, let's say, escalation, it's more become a security risk for people. They are now trying to figure out the way they used to think maybe about Dubai. Is it going to be the same? So a lot of these now want to reduce their exposure.
True.
Right. So I think a lot of the buyers that I've also received, but yes, what he says is true. When you have stabilized cash rich buyers, they may want exits at OP plus 4 still because they don't want to
Exactly.
lose out on money. But when you have people who have not at all planned for their finances, they didn't have any goal. They were themselves unclear.
Yeah.
It was like somebody bought it, let me buy something and let me see.
Okay, so I had a buyer previously. I showed him a project on a very good location. I would say phenomenal location. Very easy connectivity to the Al Khail. I would not mention the project name, but he got some property, not one unit. He got 4 units
Okay.
from other broker because the broker took care of him.
Sure.
So I got his call on 3rd of March. He said to me, I want to sell it off. I said, okay, let me try. You know what's the supply of that area? 68,000 plus units right now in the market. And upcoming supply is above 70,000. Right now, he ready to sell his property less than 10% also. And there's no buyer for that.
See, I think this again, and we'll come to Tanveer. This solidifies his point where when he was also talking to the client, and the client said that, okay, maybe if I have to sell, I think more than price per square feet, what Shahid said right now is, see, understand 68,000 of supply, additional supply countering almost around, let's say, sorry, coming into around 100. So you have massive supply. Yes, you have something which is not at all ready right now. No.
Right.
And obviously, when you're looking at this kind of a supply, you're looking at a community at the end of the day. There's no standalone building. So from a community perspective, it's 8 years.
Right.
From a building perspective alone, it will be 3 to 4 years, whatever it is, right? So I think sometimes the mindset of people buying has, and I think this is where a lot of, let's say, conversations that I had with, let's say, my clients as well were, a lot of clients obviously asked me, whether to hold or whether to sell. And I told them that this is the worst time to sell for gaining anything, right? Because buyers are looking at minus 10, 15, 20%, but the products they want are not at this right now. The products which are releasing at 10, 15, 20, and then obviously when we go to the developers, they both have insights to that. These are the products which genuinely, I would say, maybe are kind of buyers. The market does not require, it's too much oversupplied. They have been heavily over leveraged. They need to, cut back on losses. That's why they're selling it at these kind of discounts. So, and then there's a third tier as well, where there are buyers still. There are institutional investors who have contacted us. And They're looking for maybe ready big villas, but the problem again is um, the let's say the easement of which they felt that okay, big established community villas will get sold for maybe minus 20-25% is not happening a lot. There will be a couple of deals, and in every market there are obviously a couple of deals, but it's not the market sentiment right now. So let's say, for example, now if I ask Tanveer as well, I talked about the secondary market. He talked about, let's say, his experience, your experience as well, talking with these clients, right? From a pure, let's say, distress perspective. How has it been?
I've seen one very sensible listing actually in a distress, which I call distress, okay, which makes sense to me. It was in a unique community. I'll give you a hint. It's an 80-20 payment plan. Only 400 townhouses,
That's
okay?
Emaar. So okay, fine. That's any, but okay, fine. We can mention good things.
Yeah, even I can say it's in Valley.
Yeah.
No, it's Grand Polo,
Okay.
okay? Where a guy bought at 5 million,
Okay.
okay, and he wants to sell it at 4.5.
What did he buy? 4 bedroom.
4 bedroom.
Okay.
Okay. Then I asked him like, what's the issue? He's like, according to him, it's like an health issue. Okay.
Understood.
I said it's a valid
Correct.
point. Okay. Whether there is a market booming
Yeah,
or it's
sure.
crashing,
Understood.
it's valid point
He
to
wants
get.
to liquidate.
Yeah, he wants
Yeah.
to liquidate. Okay. This is something. And another call I got in the morning where I sold a guy at 3 bed and again in Grand Polo. He's like, Tanveer, I'm getting a lot of distress calls,
Sure.
this and that. You should sell right now and all everything. I told him, you bought a unit in a unique community, plus it's an Emaar,
Sure.
80-20 payment plan. Not everybody can afford this payment plan.
Sure.
100% you should hold. If you have a money, he said, I have money. I
Yep.
can hold. If you tell me. I said, hold. 100% you will make money.
Sure.
And I gave him writing, okay? I can send you a message that you will 100% on the time of handover, I can liquidate it easily at 4.5. You have to mark my words. He's like, now Tanveer, I feel a little bit secured by seeing the news and all everything. I told him, don't follow the news. Contact us. We'll give you the ground reality because we are on the grounds.
Sure.
Okay. To give you a proper picture. So it's like, okay, whatever you say right now.
See, I think
See, he has
So-
given the very right advice to hold the unit to the client. Why? I would like to add on one thing here. If you understand the 2040 agenda, the population is going to increase, but not in the same pace.
sure, absolutely.
So, people who are like panicking right now, I would recommend them, if you have a cash flow, if you have the cash flow or finances strong with you and steady with you, I would say do not sell your units right now.
Sure.
And you guys, if you like able to like manage this portfolio, you're gonna make the most out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I had a conversation with a client where he's bought a phenomenal unit. So he bought a unit, 4 bedroom. He bought a townhouse. I think the plot size was close to 3,000 or 3,000 plus. Townhouse plot size. His built up was again in the 3,000 plus range. He bought it at 1,450 dirham per square feet. 1,450 dirham per square feet in Bay Villas. Now, even in today's market, right? He was getting offers. So he bought it at almost, I think, 5.5, 5.6 or something like that. He's getting, let's say, offers not into fruition, but almost around the maybe 5.9, 6, 6.1. I mean, he's still getting offers in a positive, let's say, aspect, right? In this market. And I think what he said also makes sense, where it again shows fundamental of products, strategy, positioning. Secondary market is something which is extremely difficult sometimes because there are a lot of expectations, right? I mean, buyers want the best product at the cheapest price, and then when when you're trying to look at a market which does not suit all of these things, it's very difficult to navigate. So I think to conclude secondary market, there are distressed deals, 100%, yes.
Yes.
Minus OP deals
Yes.
are there.
Yes.
Are the products worth? Maybe no.
Yeah.
In terms
Yeah.
of any capital appreciation, any liquidity perspective. The reason why these, and okay, one more thing is, I have seen a lot of these distressed deals. Yes, they are distressed deals, but they've been sitting on the market since 5, 6, 7 months, right? I mean, unimpacted by the war. Maybe by the war they've now again deducted the price, but these have been sitting on the market. So it's not even something where, okay, today I sell at minus 30, 40 as well, somebody is willing to buy, right? People and investors have become smart. End users specifically now want to understand, let's say, the holisticness of the product. So there are distressed deals, yes. genuine distress deals is something that we have to find, which still it's very hard. They're
Very
not
rare.
coming onto the market.
Very rare.
Even
And
while I was studying this Bay Villas and the
yeah,
distress deals because of Zohaib, okay, so the lowest amount villa that I was seeing, the townhouse, was 6.2,
correct.
and you sold it at what, 5.5?
5.5,
Now this is
5.6.
called a resilient product, okay.
Correct.
If we see something like on 5 million, 4.8 below OP, then it called like you
Correct.
bought something at a risk,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
But it was a good buy actually.
No, I think a lot of times people also must understand that who is buying also now,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Who wants to buy, their intention. Primarily, we've seen a lot of investors that they want to buy.
Yeah.
When will sum up secondary, will go to off plan. I think in secondary, again, it's the same thing. Distress are there, but is the product, let's say, resilient? We don't know. For good products, getting these OP deals is something that we'll have to look into further if they come into the market. And I think for established communities, right? This is what I've seen for established communities, been in the market for obviously anywhere between half to a full decade, 5 to 10 years. People have still made a lot of money. So for them, I saw this one deal even in Valley. Now, just to give an example, Valley is still not a completely established community. There was a unit, Orania, the guy bought it at 2.1. Market price was still going at 3.8, 3.9, 3.7. He's willing to liquidate at 3.3, 3.4. He's still making profit.
Exactly.
Worst case
Absolutely.
scenario, liquidate at 3. If he needs cash, he's still making profit. And he got 2 offers. So we need to, again, we need to understand this whole maybe term distress. I think this has been, created in terms of a lot of
Yeah.
hype bubble and confusion.
Correct.
But
I'm
yeah,
I'm
sorry.
coming back to your point actually, like who's buying right now, okay.
Correct.
So the common demographic that I'm seeing right now, so it's mostly the US people and the Singapore,
Sure.
okay. And recently I have transacted on the 3rd March. It was the 3rd day of the war,
Sure.
okay. So I have a surgeon from US, okay. So we bought a 2-bed in Maritime City from Beyond, and we bought 2 units in the normal developer,
Sure.
okay. But he wanted an ROI from next day.
Correct.
We bought 2 units over there.
Understood.
After that, from we can say last 10 day, we can say past 10 day, we bought something, a bulk unit of 40 million,
Correct.
okay. So still people are buying if they're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
a
yeah.
good unit
100%.
or a good pricing or something.
Yep.
But we need to understand what are you buying.
Correct. No, absolutely. See, what are you buying? What is the sentiment as well? And I think the secondary market is now a mix. People want, let's say, for example, they want to buy either they want to buy a really good priced unit, or they sometimes want to. Now, a lot of people are looking into these great opportunities in 24, 25 in different clusters. Be it a townhouse, villa, a waterfront community, and they're now looking at these OP deals. They want to, they want to hedge time. So they want to, go back 1.5, 2 years, and they want to see whether these deals are coming into fruition. A lot of times for certain villa communities, it's still yes, you can find these OP plus 5, OP plus 6. But this concept of distress -10, 15, 20 in the secondary is still not seen for resilient and better products.
Yeah.
2 simple reasons, again, what he's told is people who are buying stock worth 4, 5, 6, 7 million in general are not panicking because of liquidity. If they want to reduce their exposure, they want to still sell it at OP, so they don't take any losses. The people who've bought these studios 1 bedrooms in general, a lot of them, because they did not plan for the liquidity in the future,
Yes.
and they thought it's an easy payment plan, it's whatever, let's say, the broker told them, it can be easily liquidated during off-plan stages.
Exactly.
These are the guys panicking a lot, and they want their money back right now, even if they get half of it.
So for example, I had a call today in the afternoon from Netherlands.
Sure.
Okay, so he's my previous investor. He told me that, Tanveer, I'm getting a lot of calls from the brokers, messaging like this developer is providing this minus OP, a 50-50 payment plan, 4% DLT waiver. I said, look at the stock.
Yep.
Right.
This is the stock which was not moving in the booming market. They are just taking advantage of this war, like, okay, take it like a 50-50, 30-70, 4% DLT waiver.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, okay, I have people from Amazon. He texted me yesterday and we had a great conversation like at the Heights launch. So he and his friend wanted to enter in a 4-bed, but his friend said, okay, I'll hold now. If you want, you can go ahead with the same. So he texted me last night, okay, is there any discount from Emaar? any payment plan change or any discounts on heights. I said no. If there is no negotiation in Emaar, people are buying on 80/20, no discount, nothing. Because Emaar is a resilient product, we can
Absolutely.
say.
I think
So it's like, okay,
starting with this will now come to the developer segment. So he's going to start with, let's say, Emaar, and yeah, I mean you can continue. So
yeah.
we're now understanding from the developer segment in the last, let's say, 1 month, what has maybe happened.
If you see right now, Damac is giving 50/50 payment plan, 4% DLD, where you'll get a car with the same.
Sure.
Or you take for a non-resident, you can take the 4% DLD. Then you have MTS giving 35/65 payment plan. Then there are multiple other developers as well who are giving 30/70/20/80. But it's unfair to the people who bought it in a booming market
Sure.
at 60/40,
Right.
70/30.
Exactly.
Okay. So that is like loss for them. Why they should pay more than the people that they are
Yeah.
buying right now and
Yeah.
taking advantage of this war?
Right.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
we can say. Yeah. Why Emaar, the government developers, are not giving any discount? This shows how strong the developer is. And that shows that how strong your product would be at the time of handover.
Sure.
If there is no negotiation in the war, it means at the time of handover, it will be more stronger. No negotiation. You buy, you buy, you don't buy, you don't buy. Or you hold.
Yeah. What's going to be happen, because as he mentioned that developer is giving the advantage right now because the situation is really overwhelming. So we are clear on that.
Sure.
The people who's going to take the advantage of the situation, they are going to be the players of the market. Because after all this conflict over, let's think like a developer right now here. Let's say you are a developer. What will you do after this first? Because of the cost increases in the inflation and the stock that were moving at like at some pace previously, the pace is stopped right now. So everybody is like, for me, like say my deals, which like if I am able to close 5 deals in a month, right now it's one. You understand my
Sure.
point?
Absolutely.
So developer stock is also not moving at the same pace it was it previously. So once all is this over, the cost of construction is going to be rise.
Sure.
The price is going to be the boom. And the person or the investor who invested in this market with that, I mean, the great payment plan or the DLD waivers, I'm not gonna say every project making sense to me.
Sure.
There are some developers, some
Yep.
projects, some location
Absolutely.
making sense to me right
Yep.
now. If you enter in that, I mean, that area right now, it is the right time.
Sure.
Because after all this, price is gonna for sure go up. For sure.
I
It's
think-
like proven already. It's like you were
I
in the
know.
market in pandemic
Sure.
also. You were in the market, like Zohaib was in the market in 2008.
Sure,
It's gonna be
absolutely.
repeated.
No, I think, see, just to fairly conclude this, again, the whole idea was to understand from, let's say, two very seasoned, let's say, professionals in our industry and their expertise with their experiences with their clients in the last 1 month
Yeah.
when, let's say, this conflict rised. Our whole conclusion is, again, as an investor, if you're watching this, we're not trying to say buy now, buy
Right.
later, wait now, wait
Right.
later, whatever it is. It's your hard-earned money. Obviously, we're here to advise, right? We're not here to sell.
Agree.
I think there's a fine line between, especially when you're looking at secondary off-plan, let's say from the developer perspective. Yes, you have again like these three anchors where your Emaar, Nakil, genuinely, but again, in those, if you get a genuinely good product, right? A product where you can look at a long-term benefit, as Tanveer said, let's say, for example, for Heights or for Grand Polo, yes, there are no, let's say, discounts, payment plan flexibilities. There's nothing right now. But what they're giving is long-term certainty. They're giving long-term, let's say, product appreciation for their clients because they've done this. Second thing is these are obviously backed by the government, they're semi-governmental, they're heavily cash rich. They also understand that, okay, for example, from a market perspective, we'll still continue the way we are. Now, it's not a prediction or it's not, but what might happen is if this prolongs, it may happen that certain developers will be a little bit more flexible. But I don't see any off plan strong or let's say big entity developer trustically coming up and say, okay, 20%, 30%, 10% minus OP, buy anything that you want from me. And especially for products which they know have the fundamentals in the right place, are resilient, will grow. In terms of the volume developers, obviously we're talking about your Damac, your Bengati, your Danube, your Azizi as well. There are going to be products which in the past, as he mentioned, as Tanveer mentioned, they were taking a hard time to sell, or maybe an excuse now to give a lot of, let's say, benefits and offers. Now, there are going to be your lower developers as well, or I would say lower as in entry level developers. They want to incentivize the market by pricing studios at maybe a minus 20, 30% for cash deals. They'll give you an ROI. So it all again depends on, from an investor, how you are looking at the market if you want to buy. If you're buying something secondary, you need to be cash rich because a lot of money has to be put in immediately. Are you willing to wait? Are you willing to pick up, let's say, good deals? Again, every distressed deal minus 15, 20 does not mean the product is good.
Good.
I have seen again 90% products which make no sense even at
Yeah.
OP. Forget about minus 15, 16.
Yeah.
So you're not
Agree.
willing to buy those products, right? It's
Yeah.
just a number then for you. So I think closing statements for us, this was a really, again, good time. Thank you, both of you, for
Thank you so
know,
much, Yash, for calling us.
Thank you.
yeah, for the first, I think, 3x Capital, second 3x Capital podcast. And it's a really good time. I think what we'll do is time and again, maybe month on month, we will be having these kind of podcasts.
Yeah.
We'll understand how the market is functioning. I'm going to send, the contact details for both of these as well in the link below. So do reach out to us if you have any queries, any deals you want to sell. Just, talk. If you want to have an open conversation about the market, we're here to help. Thank you so much. Signing out, Yash Kumtekar.
Tanveer Khan.
Mohammad Saiyed.